Aditya Birla Group presents Budget 2015, the Make in India Budget, co-presented by SBI. Taxing times.
It's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's most ambitious program, Make in India. And so expectations are that Budget 2015 will make tax policy changes to help Make in India get off to a shining start. But before we get to tax incentives, I asked my panelists what Make in India means to them.
I kind of keep joking with my wife that it's not an instant noodle or an instant dosa, but it has to be fermented and then only the next day you can have this. So there is no magic which is going to happen, straight away saying this is going to happen. So whatever we're going to do are going to lay the steps for things to happen. For example, in the defense, if you say I want to do something make and give an RFP today, it will take 3 years for the program to come through. So first and foremost is, if you're thinking about Make in India, think long term. Don't think today.
Right.
Yeah. Second, we can't be good at everything. So Make in India is not about make everything in India. We must find what we are good at and try to do that. For example, China is good at making long runs and big, if it is million parts
Scale.
Scale, then that's what they would like to do. What is India good at? And I think that's an important
So what
aspect.
is India good at? What is Make in India according to you?
So I will tell you what I think they're good at. One, it is short runs, skilled, and where innovation is the middle name, and engineering. If you combine these four, this is one recipe that's good for India.
Okay.
Can India be the tractor capital, manufacturing capital of the world? Surely it can be, because these are short runs where skills are required, etc. So, and that's one end of the spectrum they should look at. They should also look at something which gets cost arbitrage into play at the beginning, but it doesn't end with cost arbitrage. It ends with innovation arbitrage, and that's where the skill again comes into play. So I would say these are two aspects. And then the third, just to finish off and not take all the time from everybody else, is to say what is strategic to India. I think two areas, telecom and things like telecom infrastructure and defense on one side, and things which are very vast internal consumption like TVs, like electronics, like cell phones. These are mass consumed within India. So for India, can we produce in India many of these things?
It's a fantastic concept.
Sure.
It's a game-changing, it's not just game-changing, it's multi-orbit shifting concept when it executed fully. So what it means for us, I believe, it's manufacturing.
Okay.
And manufacturing cannot come without technology, without innovation, without research. So all these would precede or would concurrently happen along with the manufacturing process. And I don't think we have any core competences. We don't need to create any core competences. China didn't have any core competency when they started, but they pervaded the entire world with their manufacturing products.
In specific areas, Mr. Parthasarathy pointed out, saying we're good at some things, we should try and focus on that as opposed to spreading ourselves.
That is history. That is history. That is history. The future can be different.
Mr. Parthasarathy, what is needed today? Just give me a laundry list of things that are needed to enable this Make in India policy.
Yeah. So laundry list first.
Laundry list.
Yeah. State and central government have to act in jugalbandi.
Okay,
if they are going to act in separate, you're going to. Second is they've got to get Make in India also. Make it easy to be in India. Okay, not just for the people who come from outside, but people here as well. Sure. Yeah, that's got to be the second thing. Third is, how do you welcome them in the initial part of the year for their investment that they're doing? How are you going to enable that? Some of these, like the mega projects, etc., now needs to have a broader base for it to be understood.
Are you talking incentives now when you say enable?
Yeah, mega project incentives, whatever name you call it. How do you ease them in?
Okay.
And then the laundry list is get MAT to zero, reduce MAT or get it closer to zero for these kind of projects, because they will need to be given some leeway in the initial year.
But what role does tax policy play?
It is a necessary but not the only factor in Make in India.
Mr. Subba, 10%, 20%, 30% of the success of Make in India will lie on tax policy?
Tax, I think it comes later. For making Make in India a reality of the life, we have to create large lakhs of acres of land available for the system. And if you want to acquire the land from the farmers, from other owners, it's not going to happen. It will take a century. So if you want to create that land available for this, one easy solution, quick solution, and you can go through the satellite images of our forest. There is no forest in so-called forest. And de-reserve 10% of the total forest land in the country where there is no forest and make it available for the manufacturing activity. And create all attendant facilities there, whether it's water, railways, airports, and captive power plants just adjacent to these zones. Create 1,000 zones of 10,000 acres of each in the country with single window clearance system. There you go to the gate of that zone, each of the zones, and get all the clearances and set up. And those, no word labor would be used for those who are employed in these zones. These are all employees. First thing in the labor reforms that you have to do, remove the word labor and create that kind of pride for the people who are going to work on the shop floor, that they are on par with the employees, and create that kind of skill set for them that they can get the jobs anywhere. Why you and me would not get into unionism? Because we can get the jobs anywhere, because the skill set is available. The same kind of skill set has to be made available for all the people who are going to work on the shop floor, and there won't be any union.
What do you believe needs to be done on the tax front at least that gives industry and business the confidence that yes, this is not just an ambition and big talk, but a reality that's going to come very soon?
In this budget, MAT on SEZ, highly contentious. I mean, what's the point of saying I'm giving 200% of R&D benefit and then saying you have to pay MAT on it? I mean, let's have cohesive policies. So if you want to encourage innovation, if you want to encourage R&D and want to encourage development, no point on putting MAT through the back door.
Okay, and that links into what Pranav's also been saying, that we need to desperately streamline how MAT is applied, especially, for instance, if you're giving an investment allowance benefit, as you were telling me, Pranav, and then imposing MAT, you're taking away that entire investment allowance benefit.
Absolutely.
Right?
What one hand is handing over, the other is taking back. It doesn't make sense at all. So if you really want to incentivize manufacturing, if you want to bring back industrial growth, I think you need to give incentives and remove impediments. Those impediments can be legislative driven, rule driven, like for example the inverted duty structure, where I have unutilized credits for years on end. The other is on the administrative side, remove impediments, make things easy, make a stable, certainty-led tax environment which is taxpayer friendly. And on the other hand, apart from removing these impediments both on the policy, on the legislation and administrative front, also give incentives and drive behavior in a certain manner. And that could be by way of investment allowance.
Which is, I think, the most commonly discussed sort of expectation right now.
Absolutely. And I think that will be a big thing if you streamline it in the right way. If today I am going to get investment allowance without any restrictions of MAT, that really means I have an investment allowance that incentivizes manufacturing. Okay. If we are talking of SEZs and if you want to drive it, the way SEZs have suffered over the last couple of years is real big. They went back on a promise. SEZ as originally introduced said MAT will not be levied on developers. MAT will not be levied on SEZ units. The promise also was no DDT on SEZ developers. All these promises were really withdrawn in somewhere around 2012. In 2012-13, the growth in exports from SEZ was 30% plus, 31% plus. In 13-14, the growth in exports from SEZ is less than 5%, 4%. So this is the kind of impact it creates, and the impact on the confidence, the trust loss or deficit that gets generated because of such policies is immense, which cannot even be quantified in monetary terms because it has a very long-term impact, if not even a medium-term.
So are you saying we need to relook and revive the SEZ program?
Absolutely.
Because at one time there was a lot of criticism that the SEZ policy of the government of India faced, saying this is more a real estate play than an effort to build the zones of the scale that China built, in its free economic zones. So I'm just wondering, did we get it right at the first place? Should we go back to that, or should we just rethink this entire, because after that we've had the National Industrial Manufacturing Zones policy that came about, which was Anand Sharma's baby. That's still somewhere, sort of floating around. Nobody knows what's going to come of that.
Correct. My point in all of this is, I think the policy was good. It always will have space for improvement. But stability is what is required. I can't bring in something and 3 years later completely relook at it.
I would like to kind of second what has been said, that, the SEZ policy of 12 was there. let's start with that, and there is always room for improvement.
I have slight disagreement here.
Okay.
So there could be misuse, and that misuse will derail the entire program.
Okay.
There was a kind of misuse in the past initiative also, SZ initiative.
So more of a real estate play than anything.
Yeah, it has become, I wouldn't say more of that, partially it was real estate, but it was hyped up and the entire program was derailed. Rather than this, if the entire manufacturing zones, whatever you call it, are owned by the government, so then this would not come into this situation.
Aditya Birla Group presents Budget 2015, the Make in India Budget, co-presented by SBI. Taxing time.